I'm so glad you're here because if you've got an organic chemistry final coming up, this video might be the difference between a B and an A. Because today, we're not just reviewing the concepts, we're actually going to practice the problems that you can expect to be on your final exam. I'm a real chemistry professor, so I know what's coming. Okay, but be honest, is it too late for me? Not even close, but if you do need to practice, you need to make sure that you're doing it the right way. And real quick before we dive in, if you want even more practice problems, check the link in the description for my Organic Chemistry Survival Kit. It's got full-length practice exams with answer keys and explanations, and mechanisms and flashcards to help you study for your organic chemistry final. So this is like the cheat code. It's the closest thing you're gonna get. All right, first question. Give the IUPAC name of this molecule. Take a second and pause if you need to. Yeah, I'm pausing. No shame. In this molecule, we should first begin by identifying the longest carbon chain. And if we start on the right-hand side, we can begin counting the total number of carbons and see that the longest carbon chain is going to be 8 total carbons. So when we break down the solution, the first step is always count the longest carbon chain. Second, we should identify the substituents coming off of this carbon chain. And coming off this chain, I see an ethyl group, I see a chloro group, and I also see this 3-carbon chain substituent, which we call a propyl group. So a 3-carbon chain is known as a propyl group. Third is that we should number the chain in order of the lowest locants or substituents, and I've already done that by placing the ethyl group at the 3 position. And step 4 is to put all these things together alphabetically. So when we do that, we know that chloro comes first. It's coming off of position 5, so I will begin by calling this 5-chloro. The next lowest alphabetically is going to be the ethyl group, which is coming off the 3 position, so I will call this 3-ethyl. And then again, coming off of position 5 is where our propyl group is. So this will mean that the beginning name of our IUPAC name molecule is going to be 5-chloro, 3-ethyl, 5-propyl. And then to complete the name, I just need to indicate the total number of carbons in our longest chain, and since it was 8, that gets the name octane. So the final name is 5-chloro, 3-ethyl, 5-propyl octane. And it's important to use these 4 steps because if you rush on an exam, you'll begin to make mistakes. Next, let's convert this skeletal structure into a Newman projection. Try it independently. This is where things typically go downhill for me. That's why I'm here to help, by walking you through the steps that you need to answer these types of problems on your next exam. And it all begins with step 1, which is first to identify which carbon chain you're actually looking down. So for our purposes, we'll actually say that we're going to look down this carbon chain, which means from this carbon to this carbon. And that's important to indicate when drawing Newman projections. Next, we need to be able to assign what's the front carbon and the back carbon. So in this case, since we're looking down this bond, we will say that this will be our front carbon and this will be our back carbon. So now we can begin to draw in our Newman projection by indicating what is the front carbon and the back carbon. I see that coming off the front carbon, I should have 1 substituent going down, and then we know that there will be 1 going left and 1 going right. On the back carbon, I see that there will be 1 substituent coming up, and then 1 will be going down into the left and down into the right. Now we need to go in and place our atoms strategically. Looking down this carbon chain, I can clearly see that the substituent pointing in the downward direction is going to be that methyl group, or CH3. If I'm looking down this bond, then I see that to my right will be the chloro substituent, and to my left will be the hydrogen. And then on my back carbon, I see that I have a methyl group going in the upwards direction, and then both of the other substituents are hydrogen. And this would be the correct answer for your Newman projection. And this is a spatial reasoning problem. And these type of problems don't just rely on memorization, it actually helps the more you practice. All right, now let's talk about chemical reactions. For this reaction, predict the product. And I'll give you a hint. This is an E2 reaction. So I just eliminate and pray. Not quite, because we can look at the pattern and identify quickly that this is going to be an E2 reaction. Number 1, we see that we have a strong base in our sodium ethoxide, or the ethoxide portion would be the base. We also see that there's a good leaving group in the form of this bromide halide. And then importantly, for an E2 reaction to occur, there must be an anti-periplanar relationship between the proton that's being removed and the leaving group. And in this case, we have exactly that, because both of these substituents are 180 degrees from one another. So what will happen is the base will come and deprotonate this hydrogen. That will allow allow these electrons to come down to form our brand new alkene, and it will kick off our leaving group, or the bromide. So then the product of this transformation is going to be an alkene that is going to be more substituted. Now let's try an electron pushing arrow mechanism for the following transformation. What happens in this alkyne alkylation? I remember this. Kinda. Something about a strong base? That's exactly right. The first step in this mechanism will be that a strong base, like NaNH2, is used to deprotonate our alkyne. And this generates a molecule known as an acetylide anion. So what we have done is produced a negatively charged carbon, or a carbanion. And this allows carbon to act as a nucleophile where it can do substitution reactions, specifically like when you have alkyl halides nearby. So what will happen is this carbon nucleophile will come and attack the electrophilic carbon position, kicking off bromide as a leaving group and doing what's known as an SN2 type of reaction. And the product of this transformation is super useful because what you see is that we have formed a brand new carbon-to-carbon bond, which is super useful in organic chemistry. So this is really combining acid-base chemistry and nucleophilic substitution reactivity. So it's like a crossover episode. Next, let's step it up a little bit, because next we're going to talk about multi-step synthesis. And this is where students either level up or they start to panic. Oh, I'm panicking. For this problem, see if you can predict the product of each of the following transformations inside of the boxes. This is an example of a multi-step synthesis that's sure to be on your final exam. Let's walk through the answer for this problem, where in our first step we see that we have an internal alkyne reacting with hydrogen gas and what's known as Lindlar's catalyst. Importantly, if we were to introduce H2 and palladium to this alkyne, so palladium on carbon, what this would generate is a fully saturated hydrocarbon, because what this would do is fully reduce this alkyne. However, since we're using H2 and Lindlar's catalyst, we're actually going to produce something different. In fact, what we're going to do is generate what's known as a Z-alkene. And it's called a Z-alkene because both of the substituents coming off of each side of the alkene are pointing in the same direction. Next, you were told that this intermediate reacts with hydrobromic acid, or HBr. And this is an electrophilic addition reaction to alkenes. And what this is going to generate is going to be a brand new hydrocarbon in which one of the carbons have now been substituted with bromine. And importantly, in this example, I can place the bromine on either side, either this carbon or this carbon, because they would be the exact same molecule. And then for the final step in this synthesis, you were told that this intermediate would react with sodium cyanide. And this is an example of a nucleophilic substitution reaction, in which case we're going to be substituting the cyano group for the bromide. So the final product in this transformation after the sequence of synthesis steps is going to be this alkyl chain that contains a nitrile on it. And a foolproof method for developing your skills in multi-step synthesis is to practice more problems. If you were able to solve all of these problems really fast, then it's likely that you're ready for your next exam. But here's an important truth. Students who do well in organic chemistry don't just watch videos like this. They practice problems all the time. So remember to check the link for my Organic Chemistry Survival Kit. You can check out this playlist, which contains all of my content related to organic chemistry. And if you're taking Organic Chemistry 2 and looking for something for your next exam, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on my next video. And if it's already up, you can check it out right here. Now remember, you still got time, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.